And that's going to advance into something that sounds like this. Welcome back to Spiritual Guitar. My name is Devin, and today we're going to cover 3 beginner-level right-hand finger-picking patterns that I've encountered in many medicine music songs and I think are going to be a great foundation for beginners such as yourself who are just starting to get familiar with your right hand and learn these patterns. So we're just going to use 3 basic chords to get familiar with these patterns. The chords are going to be an A minor chord, a C chord, and the G chord. And that G chord, we're not going to use our pinky, we're not going to use our second finger, we're just going to keep our third finger on this low 6th string on the G note. And then back to A minor. Now, these first 3 finger picking patterns that we're playing, we're not going to use our ring finger, it's a little bit more challenging. We're just going to use our thumb, our index finger, and our middle finger. And I'll just play through each of the 3 patterns here, starting with our A minor chord. That's going to be our first pattern, where we're just playing thumb, I, M, thumb, I, M, P, I, M, P, I, M. And we'll circle back to this and we'll get into the details on how to properly play it. But let's just go to the second pattern, where we're going to go P, I, M, I, P, I, M, I. And when we speed that up, it's going to sound something like this. Right, so that's our second pattern. And our third pattern, we're using the same 3 fingers, but we're using a different time signature. So it's going to sound something like this. Whoops. And that's going to advance into something that sounds like this. So let's jump back to the first pattern, and we'll take it nice and slow, and let's talk through what exactly we're doing with our right hand fingers. So in an A minor chord shape, we're going to start with our thumb on the A string. And the A string is going to be our root note or our bass note of the chord because we're playing an A minor chord. And this is the lowest note of the chord, and it's the A root note, right? So it really is the foundational home bass note of the chord. It's what all the other notes of the chord kind of revolve around and lead us back to. So it's important that we're emphasizing this low note a little bit more loudly than the other notes and more consistently. Right? Now I'm jumping between, or let's take it easy and let's just start without alternating our thumb on strings. Let's just play our thumb, our P, on this low A string, and then our index finger is going to be on the G string on this third finger, and our middle finger is going to be on the B string, which is the second string. So third string, second string. So P, I, M, P, I, M, P, I, M, P, I, M. Now, when you're practicing this, because there's a difference between practicing and playing. When you're practicing, we are focusing on making it sound good, but we're more focusing on how it feels in our fingers, and we're paying attention, like really paying attention to every little thing, and we're using all of our mind to focus. Our thoughts aren't wandering, we're not thinking about other things. We're locked in, focused on this. My guitar teacher likes to use the example of an archer, and he says the archer has the luxury of when they shoot their shot, they get to go walk and retrieve their arrow, and when they're walking, they get to think about how that shot went, how they liked the mechanics, how they liked the release, how they were breathing, and they get to analyze and assess that shot for the whole walk out to the arrow and the whole walk back. So when you're playing guitar, you can tend to speed through things and not really give each note the attention it deserves. And the right hand is really important because everybody likes to pay attention to the left hand, but this is where the sound starts. If you're not playing the right hand properly, if you're not getting the right sound here, it doesn't really matter what you're doing here. It's not going to sound good. So really, really have to pay attention and slow things down when you're practicing. So we want to make sure that our thumb and index and middle finger are all preparing, that they're getting ready to play the note while that last finger just plucked the string. So I have all three fingers down on these strings before I go to play, and I pluck my thumb, and my index is prepared and ready to fire. My middle is ready to fire. When I pluck my middle finger, my thumb goes right back to that fifth string, and it's ready to fire. This is called preparation. I learned this as a classical student in conservatory, and it builds the muscle memory for your fingers to get in place quicker so that you don't have to worry about that in time. For now, you have to focus on it and you have to think about it, but soon it's going to become muscle memory in your hands, and your fingers are just going to fly right into place, and that's where true clean speed really starts to come into play. So preparing, and also when I pluck my thumb down, I'm basically, and we'll zoom in on the camera a bit here so you can see, I'm plucking down and it's landing and hitting my index finger. My thumb strikes, it's going kind of down at an angle, up in hitting my middle finger, and then my index finger plucks in, and I'm plucking it in. I'm really hinging this joint here, and I'm also giving it just a little bit of move. So this knuckle swings it in a little, and then this one hinges in. So and the same thing for my middle finger. You can just practice going back and forth like this. My guitar teacher calls these the runners. They're always running, right? And then you can introduce the bass. Now, when you're practicing this, you don't want to overdo it, so it can be monotonous, it can get a little bit boring, it's hard to focus for so long on something that's kind of so simple, but is also going to be frustrating because it's going to be challenging, and you're probably going to have trouble just playing through this at first. I like to do like chunks of 5 minutes that are like laser focused chunks of 5 minutes where I'm really paying attention, I'm giving it my all. Typically, I'm using a Metronome. You can get an app on your phone. I can link some of those in the description as well for you. And play it as slowly as you possibly can. It's going to feel painful because it's going to be boring and it's going to be so slow. But you need to get the mechanics down and be playing it properly just for 5 minutes a day or whenever you're practicing. Hopefully 3 to 5 days a week, just 5 minutes per day, just on the technique. And in a couple weeks, you're going to get this down and you're going to start flying through this. So very slowly, let's start introducing the alternating thumb. Now the alternating thumb, I'm just going between the two lowest strings. And I do this on any chord that I'm playing. So in the A minor chord, it's going to be the A string, the 5th string, and the 4th string, 5th string, 4th string. Same for the C chord. Because our lowest note in the chord is this C note on the 5th string. On the G chord, I'm going to go lower because now we have this 6th string is in play. And I'm going to actually now jump over the 5th string. This is challenging. And I'm going to play the open 4th string. Now, when you're moving your thumb over strings, you don't want to go all the way around, right? That's so much movement. That's going to take you so long to get from one string to the next. You want to be as close to that 5th string as possible without touching it. I like to say minimum or maximum efficiency from minimum movement. So the least amount of movement that you can put with your thumb, the more efficient your playing is going to be, and the more fast and the more clean it's going to sound. Back to our A minor. Now let's bring back in our I and our M. There we go. If you want to get a little bit fancy, you can always bring your ring finger or your A. Whenever you're playing your M, you can play your ring finger as well. So when your M is playing the 2nd string, your ring finger can play the 1st string. And you'll play these both at the same time. So that would look like this. When you speed it up, now when I'm playing this, I'm emphasizing and I'm making the thumb, the bass note, sound louder, right? If I wasn't, it would sound like this. Not very pleasant to listen to, right? You want to bury the higher notes, and you want to bring out, so you bury them by playing them more quietly and more softly. And then your thumb, you want to bring out the bass notes. Those are the ones telling the story. And the higher strings, your I, your M, and your A, they're just providing a quiet bed so that we can, it's like, I call it, it's called sfumato, actually. I learned about it from Leonardo da Vinci in his paintings. He would blur the background and create shadows on things that he didn't want you to focus on, and that would really draw your attention to the thing that he wanted you to focus on. So you're kind of blurring or making them a little more quiet, pushing them to the background so that the bass note is coming to the foreground, and we're really paying attention to that. It's a nice little technique. However, to get to that level when you're practicing, you actually do the opposite, and you want to play everything as loudly as possible, all at the top, and then you want to practice everything as quietly as possible. So it would sound something like this. Let's say I played for 2 minutes like this. Loud, even spacing and even volume. I'm building up dexterity and strength in my fingers so that when I want, on command, I can play them loudly whenever I play. Now I'll go quiet. Now I'll keep my thumb quiet, and I'll play that I, M, A. I don't think I would really do that while I was playing, but it's important to just change things up and push yourself and try different variations, because we're building muscle. We're building new muscle here in the same way that you would do new workouts at the gym or exercises. Any different variation or workout or exercise that you can do with your fingers is going to build new muscles and make playing more easy. Even if it's something that you don't plan on playing in the song, it doesn't help to practice it and get familiar with it anyway. So, and then, we would end with our thumb being the loudest. Right? Cool. So that's our pattern number 1. Pattern number 2, very similar. We're just going to go back to the I. So I am I. I am I. P, I am I. P, I am I. P. This is one of the more important patterns for you to learn, especially when you want to start incorporating melody over the chord harmonies. Like, and it's important because the high melody notes that I'm playing with my middle finger, those are the ones you hear. What you don't hear are in the background. I'm constantly using my runners. They're always going on these 2 strings. Now there's some variations in there, but the fundamental concept is in the background of the melody. This is just always going. It's always running. It's like the little machine in the background that kind of fills in and makes that bed for you. So it's important to get this down using just the simple core notes. So going through our A minor chord. And now, when you're playing I and M, you always have to alternate these. And the reason that you alternate instead of playing I twice or M twice is because you can prepare them and get them in place quicker than if I were to play I, then bring it back around I, bring it back I. There's just no way I can play my single I as fast as I can play my 2 fingers going together, right? I'll just never beat that with just 1 finger. So it's tempting to just play like, you say, why can't I just do it like that? While you're playing as a beginner and you're playing it slowly, sure, you can do it like this, but you're extremely limited and you're not going to have a lot to grow and anywhere to go from there. This is much, much better. It's a little more challenging at first, but it's going to give you that speed. And if it's tricky in the beginning, try to simplify, right? So I'm alternating my thumb on the bass notes because we already did that in pattern 1. But if this is a little tricky, then just keep your thumb on the A string. And the same concepts apply when you're practicing that. Use a metronome, about 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes of small, digestible, laser-focused chunks of practice. Let's say if you're doing all 3 patterns, just spend 2 minutes per pattern, so it'll be 6 minutes total. Start off very loud and evenly spacing, and slow, then quiet, then try to make just the P, your thumb, loud. This is going to take a lot of focus. And then when you get more comfortable with this pattern, again, you can put your ring finger, your A, you can pluck open E string whenever you play your M, your B string. You can pluck these at the same time. So this is probably the most common finger picking pattern that I play in medicine music. So you get this down and you're already there for so many songs. Cool. All right, that's pattern number 2. Let's go on to pattern number 3. So pattern number 3, we're using the same fingers, same strings, same chords. We're just using a different time signature. And this one is fairly common as well. I come across it all the time in medicine songs, and it's a little bit different and super fun to play. So I'm going P, I, M, P, I, M, P, M. So that's the difference. It's 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 1, and 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 1, and. So on that, so we play twice regular, right? And then on the third time, we skip the index finger and we just do P, M. So P, I, M, P, I, M, P, M. P, I, M, P, I, M, P, M. It gives it this kind of bouncy, jumpy, more rhythmic feel. Nice and slow. I'm getting carried away here, sorry. It's just very satisfying to play and fun to play. And you're gonna kind of have to play your thumb a little bit more quickly because on that third one, your thumb usually has 2 notes to get ready to get back in place, right? Thumb, 1, 2. Thumb, 1, 2. And then on the third time you play it, you only have 1 note to get your thumb back in place. So 1, 2, 1, P, I, M, P, 1, 2, P, 1, P, P. 1, 2, P, 1, 2, P, 1, P, P, I, M, P, I, M, P, M, P, P. And with this pattern, practice it the same way as you're practicing the other patterns. This is how I've practiced for 30 years. Just small, digestible chunks, really focused, trying to play it as slowly as possible, loudly, then quietly, use a metronome whenever possible. And when you get comfortable with this, you can also start to bring in your third finger or your ring finger, and it's really fun to play. So again, you just play your ring finger at the same time you're playing your middle finger on these highest 2 strings. And it's going to sound like this. fun to play. So those are my three kind of beginner basic, laying the foundation right hand finger picking patterns. Again, I've been playing for quite a while, almost 30 years now, so it comes fairly naturally to me at this point, and I kind of tend to forget what it felt like all those years ago, but I can still remember how frustrating and challenging it was. So be really patient with yourself. Don't beat yourself up if it, we're not used to using our hands this way. So be very patient. It's like this is your new meditation, your new practice. You want to be gentle with yourself. You want to try to enjoy it, and you want to remember that this is fun. And we're doing this so that we can learn good music and we can play it for ourselves and share it with others. So don't get too stressed out. Don't take it too seriously. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, I love teaching this stuff. I love talking about it. So write me anytime. Shoot me a comment below. I also have a Patreon that I will link below, and I will write out tabs for each one of these three patterns. Play along with those and print those out and use those to study. But thank you very much for watching. My name is Devin. This is Spiritual Guitar. Thanks again. So let's just start with naming our fingers, right? So our thumb is named P. So when I'm calling out the patterns or when I'm telling you which string to play with which finger, I might say P, and that's going to be your thumb. So I might say P, M, I, and that's your P, your thumb, followed by your middle finger, and then index is I. So middle finger is M, index finger is I, and your ring finger is A. So P, I, M, A. And those are going to be the four different letters that we're going to use to describe the fingers. And when we're talking about our strings, this is our first string, the highest string, our first E string, and this is our sixth string, the lowest. So first, high E string, second string, B string, third string is G string, fourth string is D string, fifth string, A string, sixth string, E string, right? And when we're placing our right hand down, what's important is that we're not extending our wrist outwards like this or inwards and letting it rest on the guitar. Your wrist is really just, it's as straight as can be. I have a little bump in the wrist. I am extending it out and upwards a little bit, but my forearm is resting on the body of my guitar right here, and then my fingers placed down right above the rosette here. And the rosette is that inlay, this pattern around the circle of your guitar. And right around here is the sweet spot that you want to be plucking and strumming. So as long as your hand is comfortably placed down here, you're resting here, your wrist is not leaning on the guitar, it's not poking too far out, you don't feel any strain or pressure, you're in a good spot. And you want to keep your thumb, generally, your thumb takes care of these low three strings. So that's your low sixth string, your low fifth, and your low fourth string. And then your I, M, A, they're more responsible for the three upper strings, your G string, middle, and E string. And when I put my fingers down on the guitar, typically they fall right into place where my thumb, P, is on that low sixth string, and then my first three fingers are on their first three strings, respectively. And they're generally always on these three strings. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Devin. This is Spiritual Guitar. Thanks again.